Hello and welcome to how I play my level 55 warrior. So we're here on my warrior hammackj, and we are going to talk about how I play him. So if you watched the level 50 video, this is a carry on to that. The class is very limited at this point in the game. Very limited. There are 4 disciplines that we're going to talk about today. And that's about it. I have not changed much anything else. There's an extra ability we picked up from AAs, but that's it. We're going to go over some of the AAs and stuff because that's all there is to talk about, in all honesty. So let's open up the discipline window here. We're going to sort by timer because that makes the most sense at this point in time. All right, so one of the things we get at level 55 is our first aura. This comes from the Prophecy of Row expansion, which I believe is a level like 65, 70 expansion, something like that. It is right here, right after Depths of Dark Hollow. So that is when all of the auras get added, and we get one at 55 and then another one at 70. So this is the level 55 version. It gives us increased armor class. You can see here. Well, let's cancel it. Let's see here. We got a bunch of buffs. So let's clear our buffs just to kind of see what our natural stats are right now. There we go. So we have a 593 armor class with no buffs. If we throw some buffs on here, we are at 611, so we gain a little bit there. So it's a nice gain, right? That's armor class that we add stacks with everything else. It also applies to everyone in my group, and it also has a chance to increase the chance that we proc our weapons as long as everybody's near us. Now, that is nice because I currently use Enraging Blow and a Strike of the Chosen weapon. I have not upgraded my weapon since level 50. So that gives me extra aggro via Enraging Blow and more chances to proc my life tap on my offhand. So that's nice. I'm currently running a melee DPS merc in my my leveling, and so it works out pretty well since that'll help me tank more. So this is a good ability to keep up at all times. Now, auras are kind of weird, and they're not permanent buffs, but they are semi-permanent buffs. They last for a while. As long as you're active, I think they stay up, but then they do drop off. Like, I would say like close to an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Just depends. I've had them drop off sooner, but it is what it is. Next up, we get 2 timer 2 disciplines here. One being evasive discipline, which puts us in a combat stance, allowing us to evade attacks, so and lowers our hit rate. So like instead of getting hit, you would get missed, right? The alternate to that is defensive discipline, which puts us in a defensive stance, causes us to like take less damage and lowers our damage output. Now at 55, defensive discipline is the game changer for the game at this point. Like for every class depends on this to do raids for the warrior, right? Like the warrior is the tank class for all the raids. It doesn't matter what you think. Otherwise, it's always a warrior. And once they get defensive, it kind of cements that in 100% stone that there is no other one that can tank. And this is a 3-minute duration. Completely makes every mob tankable in the game at the current level, right? Like a 55 warrior can tank anything in classic and anything in Kunark and probably anything in Velius except maybe the Avatar of War and some of the dragons. You would need 60 for those. But this really changes the game and how strong this class is. So you kind of have a choice between these two. I personally, in any of my rating up to the end of Velius, I never used evasive discipline once. So I don't even keep it on my bar. It's gone. It's defensive 100%. And that is a 10-minute and 30-second reuse. So, you know, there's pretty nice there. If you are a raiding warrior, you're going to want to think about how to use this the best, you know, your effectiveness, i.e. the second you taunt, you want to have this up right before that. So you're going to want to think about how you do that and stuff like that. In those situations, typically you'll have like a class leader in your raid that'll, you know, give you some instructions on some of that stuff and tank swaps and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into that now because I don't have a second tank here to demonstrate that inside my guild lobby, but effectively I'm tanking a mob. You're going to pull the mob off me and take over when my defensive discipline falls. You're going to have Gina up showing all the different timers and countdown stuff that I just don't have running right now. You can see when it's about to fall for whoever has it up and stuff like that. So definitely the raid game is completely different, but I don't really focus on the video, just give a little insight there. Now, next up we have a timer 4. So there's 2 choices here, Mighty Strike Discipline and Charge Discipline. Mighty Strike turns every hit into a critical. Charge just allows us to always hit. The choice is really up to you. I always go with Mighty Strike personally. I like the orange text in like my combat window showing my crits. I don't feel like the hitting every hit is really useful in any way for me, but I'm not a DPS class, so just having those crits to me just feels better. But that's my choice in the timer 4 category, so I don't even keep charge on my bar here. These are the disciplines right here that I use. They right this. Now, so look at timer 5. I said in the level 50 video, these are useless, and in fact, they are useless, except for Fearless when fighting dragons in Kunark and Classic. Maybe some of the dragons in Velius too, but after that, it's going to see little use. Now, keep in mind, you can only have 1 discipline up at a time. It goes right here into the combat abilities window with a countdown timer. So you cannot be defensive and fearless at the same time. So that's something to keep in mind when you're doing this. You might be able to tank some of this stuff without defensive. In fact, you can tank some, the dragons in Classic without defensive because you can do them beforehand. You just need a lot of healing. And you can tank the Kunark dragons without defensive too. So something to keep in mind there. You might run into a situation where you need defensive because you don't have enough AC or hit points, so to stay alive. And also keep in mind, if you're not being feared, your clerics are still being feared. So unless they have 500 magic resist. Resistant discipline sucks, and focused will sucks. All right. Next up, we have timer 9. Now, there's a lot of things in timer 9, and throw stone sucks, elbow strike sucks. Provoke is great up until 52 when we get bellow. Bellow replaces provoke in pretty much all cases, except maybe where you're out of, you don't have enough stamina, endurance to keep it going. Now, they share the same timer, so keep that in mind. When you're trying to do that. I replaced provoke with bellow. Now at 60 we're going to get another one, I believe, and that one uses a lot more stamina and endurance, so that's you might keep the level 55 or 52 one for now. But what it does is it does hatred over time on the mob. So I target where's my combat dummy that I was fighting with yesterday? There he is right here, blue boy. All right, see there, puts this little debuff on him, and so we get hate over time for 60 seconds, and then you can just whack on him and help generate our hatred. Obviously, it's a combat dummy, so you can't see any of that, but there's the gist of that right there. All right, throw stone. I like throw stone's nice at level 1, but once you can get a bow, it is dumb. The range is literally like from me to this guy right here. It's terrible. And I usually just body pull and like just run into mobs like this and just pull them all back and just phase tank them. Like that's just how it is. It's just easier that way. All right, so that is all the disciplines we currently have at 55. My choices are defensive, mighty strike. This is just the best to go there. Now, AA is coming to play at 51 in the game. Now, if you're on live, you get auto grant if you have a gold account. If you're on TLP, the AAs do not come into play until Shadows of Lucklin, and you have very limited AAs. In fact, if we just limit it here to what's available in Shadow of Luckland, like some first aid junk, natural durability here, which is nice, right? Like natural durability is a good AA that we pick up. Increases our base health derived from our strength, or I mean from our stamina, by 12%. So that gave me, you know, a huge chunk of stuff because I'm an ogre. I'm capped on stamina by, you know, a significant amount, right? Plus I have 1 heroic stamina, putting me at 256 stamina. So definitely very nice there. Now, if we take a look at some of the other things we got, let's see here. I don't see any of them there. Let's go to none. All right, so let's go back here. Battle ready increases our bandolier. I'm currently not set, I don't have my bandolier set up, but when we get to level 60, I will be bandoliering in my primal sword to proc avatar, and then bringing that out to not proc, like after the fact, right? Like I'll be switching back to this, I call it a tanking setup. Like if we go over here on my proc avatar real quick, we get the thing up. So watch my attack when I proc it. I put it in my main hand, right? Should proc pretty quick. Come on, procky proc. We got our, we should proc more often since the aura, but it's not procking. Here, stand from behind. And you can kind of see the hits we're doing, you know, we're like, well, that's a life tap. 88, 43, 33. So our damage is not, you know, fantastic at the moment, but it is, wow, this is taking a while to proc. And these proc at level 55, so you can't use them beforehand, but it should work here in a second. We'll just let that go. So like bandolier, there we go, it procced. So 607 attack, and then we do, you just switch back with bandolier to your other weapon when you have that proc. I like to do it just because that little extra attack does help with our hit rate, right? Especially like when you're tanking, because you're going to get more the riposte and stuff like that from the front. Riposte parries and dodges and all that stuff. So definitely something to keep in mind there. Now, the rest of the ZAA, so Battle Ready gives us another bandolier slot. Combat Agility gives us 10% extra melee avoidance. This is very important. Probably the first thing you're going to want to put points into. Now, it looks like these don't come into play until like later on, so it just depends. I remember back in Luckland there was a lot of these AAs, and then as the expansions came out, they kind of shifted things around. So I'm not 100% sure what you get when you get it in that regard, but definitely to that. Combat stability increases our armor soft cap by 10%. So there is a soft cap and a hard cap on arm. Well, I guess there's not a hard cap on armor, but there's a soft cap on armor, and I believe it's around like 600, 700 at level 60. And then anything over that goes into the soft cap. The numbers may be a little bit higher, but whatever it is, this allows that to go over it and allows your AC to continue to increase. And this will go all the way up to, I think, 200% at 125. It might be a little bit lower, but it's pretty high. Let's see here. What else did we get? First aid allows us to bind wound. I haven't bound wound a single time on this character. It's just not that important. Innate Eminence increases our base stats, so the base stats before armor by 10 on all of those. Just makes us a little bit more stronger at the base level. Increased lung capacity gives us the ability to hold our breath forever. Eventually, not yet, but eventually, so 50% longer. Increased metabolism allows us to consume food 150% less. That goes for drink. Also, this is nice because later on, like at like 120 plus, you know, you're gonna have these nice stat foods. Here, let me summon one of these. Like these aren't the best. These are just whatever I have, right? You can see here, it just consumes, you know, slightly less, right? And that's really nice because eventually you get into stuff that's like, you know, a few thousand plat per piece. Now you can force feed yourself and all that nonsense, but I'm too lazy to do it, so I like to have the innate metabolism to take care of that kind of stuff for me. Innate regeneration just gives us more base regeneration. Innate run speed gets us up to 21% run speed. Eventually it gets up to, I think, J-boot speed. Like, it's still not that fast, but it's fast enough to not be slow. Let's see here. Innate spell resistance just increases our base spell resistance by 10, getting us closer to that maximum of 500. Let's see here. Mystical Attuning gives us 2 more buff slots. Early on in the game, you are very limited by buff slots, and having like all the buffs from all the characters in like a raid situation, you're buff capped and you can't really do much about it. That's really nice. Natural durability. We already talked about this one. Gives us 10% more hit points based on our stamina. Origin lets us teleport back to our bind. I think we got that at like level 5 though. So let's see here. Veterans enhancement. So passive increases your health and mana by 250, your attack by 75, and the maximum that your health regeneration can be increased by 8 points. So this is at level 50 we get this, and it's an all-around boost to everything that's important, right? Health and mana is very important. And then in the archetype section, we picked up Combat Fury. So Fury, by default, warriors can get innate critical strikes, right? I believe we start with like 1 rank of this Combat Fury now, and that allows us to get our first, our critical strikes. You can see right here, I critical strike. But at 55, we get 3 ranks of Combat Fury, which allows us to crit 60% more. So it's a little bit more often. We also picked up Finishing Blow, which allows us to let's see, our critical melee strikes, 52% chance to deal 19,000 damage to a level 54 or lower NPC with less than 10% health. So like when mobs, in that about to run stage, gives a chance for us to just straight out kill it, which is really nice. It saves a lot of time later on. And that'll keep going up as we level all the way to I think like 115, 118. I can't remember. It's not quite 120, I don't believe, but I'd have to look and see. Innate Prowess. Now we started getting innate prowess as we leveled. I believe it's like 20, 35, 45, 50. We get these 10% boosts in melee damage and stuff like that, or whatever this percentage is. But as we level, we're going to keep getting these extra melee damage increases, which allows us to stay competitive damage-wise with casters. Now, all the melee classes do get some form of this. Let's see here. And Weapon Affinity. Let's see here. This passive increases your weapon's chance to trigger during combat by 50%. So we have the aura that increases our proc chance, and this AA. Which is pretty nice because we are very proc dependent at this point in time to generate aggro. And then class wise, I believe we only got this one at 55. Yeah, it gives us another attack. This is when activated, strikes your target with a kick that will do a base damage of 75 and reduces their avoidance by 18. So this is a really nice ability. I have it in my multi-bind. If I hit it, you see here the knee strike landed on here, so it reduces the avoidance of this guy by 18%, allowing me to hit more, right? So that's the kind of the point of that. I hit more, plus everybody else hits more that's attacking the mob at the same time. So definitely a nice little debuff there. I do it on cooldown via my multi-bind that I talked about last time, where all my keys are bound to the same button on the hotbar, right? So 5 is my multi-bind button, where I do taunt and knee strike. Just saves me time from having to think about that, but it's pretty nice. Just do it on cooldown. I mean, that kick did 312 damage, right? That's like my largest. That's my largest hit right now, right? You can see there my miss rate is like totally low. I'm just hitting like almost every hit. Now, if that's from behind, from front where I'm usually at, it's going to be a lot less. He's going to dodge, you see, and he's going to riposte. At least this combat dummy's not super strong. He's not going to kill me with a riposte like these red ones will. But you can see here parries and stuff like that. So that's when you're fighting from behind and fighting from the front. If there is another tank besides you, you're always going to want to be behind the mob. Here, let's get smaller. you want to be in this arc right here. If you're not tanking it, if you are tanking it, you want to tank it from the front like this, and don't move it. As much as you can, don't move it, so that your rogues, your other melee classes, can then focus on attacking from this rear arc angle right here, from like the back of his hand to the back of his hand. If we go like this, in this area right here, it's the prime location for the melee classes, because they're going to get less parries, less riposte, and all that junk. So they're going to be doing very well and boosting your damage, because you're not a DPS class as a warrior. You are a tank first and foremost. Now, a dual wielding warrior is going to do more DPS than, say, probably a sword and shield one, and so that's, you know, something you need to do. Think of sword and shield versus dual wielding versus two-hander, like how the knights are, in the sense that a knight with a sword and shield is tanking, and a knight with a two-hander is probably doing DPS. Now, that's not to say that you cannot tank while dual wielding or using a two-hander, but you are going to take more damage. And to kind of like illustrate that, later on we're going to get this, not bold attacks, where is it here? Weapon stances right here. So two-handed proficiency increases your, this is way into the game, like level 85. Two-handed increases your damage with two-handers, but reduces your chance to dodge or parry, and lowers your armor class too. Jeez. Dual wielding increases your damage dealt with one-handed weapons, increases your chance to parry attacks and weapons chance to trigger by 20%, protects you against 6% of incoming melee damage, and reduces your chance of dodge, while reducing your chance to dodge incoming attacks. So you get the chance to parry more, but you dodge less. And then with the shield, you block more attacks and all that stuff. So it is a nice middle ground that the knights don't have to be able to dual wield. And so it is still a viable option for tanking. But you don't get that AA until 85, when you start getting the negative things for using a two-hander. I don't recommend a two-hander for a warrior, and, you know, like, well, I guess you could use a two-hander when you're not tanking at this point, but I don't recommend a two-hander over dual wield in most cases. Obviously, if you want to hold your aggro down, because there's another tank, you're not going to want to have your enraging blow weapon on, so you're going to want to have an alternate weapon. I think at one point I was using two primal weapons to hold the, like, during raids, to just so I wasn't getting aggro, but I kept dual wielding. I did use two-handers at sometimes. It just depends on what you have access to, and if it's going to do, you know, better damage than what your one-handers are. You know, you got to play by ear. Typically I go for the best ratio in my main hand, and then you know, the second best ratio in my offhand. It's typically how I do it, but just depends on what the procs are in some cases, because the main hand is going to hit more and therefore proc more. So something to keep in mind with that. And that kind of goes into gear, I guess, now. So like the weapons are the most important thing, I think, to the warrior, followed by armor class. You're going to want as much armor class as you can. Let's take a look at these two items here. Let's do unmodified. So Intricate Defiant is the plate armor that you're going to be looking for at 50 plus, right? This is going to be the Defiant gear that you can get on live, that is easy to get in most cases, and it is fairly good. This is raid loot from Saru in the Shadows of Luckland. You can kind of see it's like these are fairly equivalent items, but I would say that the Defiant is better because it's got the focus that gives us more attack. It also gives us some heroic stats. It also gives us more attack, HP regen. We lose 20 hit points, we gain 5 AC, so I think that's a fair trade-off overall. Just start replacing my Velius tier raid loot with this Intricate Defiant gear and stuff like that. And then moving forward, like Defiant gear, or, you know, the gear that you can get is usually going to be better than most of the gear as, you know, we move forward in the game until we get to a certain point. But that's kind of, you know, just something to keep in mind there when you're looking for gear. Now you can, you know, look in the not the item shop, but the someone wants 75,000 for this. Don't pay that much for any of this junk. I'll tell you that right now. You can see you could get gloves for 800. And here, let's compare the gloves real quick. Right click that. So I'm wearing Gauntlets of Dragon Slaying versus Intricate Defiant gloves, which these are substantially better than the Gauntlets of Dragon Slaying. These are just good because you can wear them at level 1 and get 75 hit points. Now, this also has 41% haste, so I do have a alternate haste bracer. So I could switch to these, right? I'm going to go ahead and just buy these for 880 platinum, right? Now, let's take a look at boots and see here, like Intricate Defiant boots versus Boots of the Storm here. Well, I'll put that back on. You can obviously see that it's a superior item, right? 2 more AC, way more hit points, attack, all that stuff. The focuses don't really do much for us. It gives us heroic agility, which gives us a little bit of dodge. So let's go ahead and buy those too. All right, so what do we buy here? We bought gloves, we bought boots, and let's take a look at the helm. Now I have the Avatar of War helmet, which is 55 AC, which is kind of hard to beat because it is a warrior specific item from that tier. So you kind of got to look at here. Look at this there. This is going to give us a little bit more hit points, a little bit more resists, more attack, heroic stamina, which will increase our hit points even more, heroic dex, and heroic agility. So I would say this is probably a superior option. I'm going to just go ahead and buy it. Why not? All right, so now we can take a look at the bracer. Now this is where it gets tricky. Now I have the Spirit Rack Cord. The Spirit Rack Cord is a quest item from Kunark. It gives 10 attack and 2 HP regen because it used to be called Aura of Battle. And that's what it looked like if you see it on like P99's wiki or something. But you can see here it's a huge AC increase. We lose a little bit of hit points. We lose some attack, but we gain 1 heroic stamina. So I'm going to go ahead and buy 1 of these to replace my Spirit Rack Cord. Let's see here. Let's buy that one. There's a second. There's a bracer. What's the difference here? We're not going to buy the bracer because my haste currently is on my silver bracelet speed. I do not have an alternate haste item at the moment. And let's see, they want 75,000 for arms. That just gets into the ridiculousness of pricing. So let's go over here to the parcel lady, grab our new items, and pop these on. There we go. Place that one and that one. There we go. And if we take off the illusion, we got it on. Let's see here. Maybe this art. There we go. We get this kind of ugly orange color, really. There we go. So, you know, we're significantly uglier at this point, but we do gain a little bit of stats. We gain, I guess, 3 AC. I think we're at 611. We gained probably a little bit of attack. I think we're at 611 attack, maybe it was. So we gained a little bit out of all that, but probably not that much. But the thing is we are level 55, and this goes all the way up to 60. So we will get those extra bits of points as we get to 60. And Intricate Defiant is the best gear I would say that you can get from 55 to 60. So you know, just keep an eye out in the on the bazaar, right? See what you can find. Now I'm on FV, the most populated server besides probably Teak, and there's a lot of stuff, you know, you can buy and sell on that server. So it's, you know, a lot of things to keep in mind there. But that's where you're going to want to go gear wise. Weapon wise, it's hard to say, right? Because weapons are way overpriced when it comes to some things, and this is the way I do it, right? I go here, I go to the auction house or the bazaar, I search by ratio, I put my level in, and then I sort, right? This is how I find my next weapon. So the diamond tipped war javelin is probably the best weapon that I could get a hold of right now. This is a two-hander though, so I probably wouldn't want to use it. Let's see what else here. Sword of Truth. It's not even usable. Here, let me narrow this down. Let's do like one-handed blunt. Actually, one-handed slashing. Warrior weapons are usually slashers. All right, Soul Defiler. That's a Shadow Knight. Here, let's go to class. This is literally all I do. I look and see what the options are. So here we go. The Dark Whisperer. What is this? This is a 0.85 ratio. Blazing Blade. One-handed slash. All right, that's an option. I'm not gonna pay 1.7 million for it. I'm gonna Google where it comes from and go kill the guy and get it. Blasphemous Blade of Exile. That's a good option, probably. I feel like, you know, 65,000 is probably fair for that one. But we'll see. And stuff like that. And that's usually how I do it. Like, people are selling Blade of Carnages for 89,000. I'll probably go clear Avatar War. And I'll throw up some for, yeah, I'm going to be doing another Velius run through. And I'll throw all that stuff up on my vendor for 1 platinum. Help anybody out on FV that wants anything. Because some of these prices are ridiculous. Now, you can look at the intricate Defiant weapons, and, you know, you're going to see that's a 0.6 ratio. So that's definitely worth getting. But some of the stuff gets a little high in the price. I would avoid it. I would definitely avoid it, but there's a lot of options here. I'll have to see where I want to go for level 60. I'm gonna do this guy's epic, so I might I might just skip to that. All right, so that's pretty much how I play my level 55 warrior. I'm having a blast with him. I got a very specific use case for this guy, and I'll talk about that later. But it's very fun, very fun. So thank you very much for watching, and please have a fantastic day.